Alright, so the NFL trade deadline is just around the corner, and the Eagles got some wild developments ahead of it, as some news has come out in recent days suggesting that the Birds could look to add some defensive help at the deadline, but defensive coordinator Vic Fangio doesn't seem to think that they need to do that, as he just had some really interesting comments regarding the deadline. Meanwhile, the Birds are getting set to face off against the Jaguars, and it seems like they're in position to have another impressive performance. And so is rookie cornerback Quinyon Mitchell, as he looks ready to make Jags standout rookie Brian Thomas Jr. his next victim. So we're going to talk about that and all the other latest Eagles news starting right now. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Philly Fan 21 channel. If you're new, I'm Evan and I cover all things Philadelphia Eagles. And it is officially Kelly Green week in Philly, as the Birds are set to wear their classic throwback jerseys for the first time this season in their game against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and will be one of two games that they'll wear these jerseys this year, with the other being week 17 against the Cowboys. And that's obviously exciting because, I mean, everyone knows how awesome the Kelly Greens look, and you know the atmosphere for this game is going to be awesome. So this definitely does add another element of excitement this week, as the Eagles are looking to get their fourth straight win against the Jaguars, and with the way that they've been playing recently, it seems like they should be able to do that, knock on wood. But before we fully put our focus on this game, I do want to really quickly look at some stuff from this past week leading into the matchup with the Bengals, as the Eagles just recently released their latest episode of Unscripted that took us behind the scenes of what the day-to-day looks like for the Birds as they prepare for a game, and it was really interesting, and one of the more captivating things in my opinion was seeing and hearing what it was like in the team meetings and what the messaging was like from head coach Nick Sirianni, specifically in their meetings on Monday after the Giants game and on Saturday just right before the Bengals game.
We are going to be what our habits are. We are going to be what our habits are. That's what you guys do over and over and over again. You want to know why you run for 280 yards? It's because of the way it starts up front. It's because of everybody. We talked a lot about finishing on the sideline all year. All right, way to finish and punish them on the sideline. I don't care that we had to punt after this. The energy that was brought that just sets the tone. You play good because you're good players. You play good because you play good fundamentals. Doubt, criticism, and hate, right? You got to bell block all that out. Well, it's the same deal with praise. Block it out. So now we're getting praised. Put your fucking head down and work, because there's nothing like the work. What was the line, Tyler? Treat praise like perfume. Smell it, sniff it, whatever you got to do with it, don't drink it. You can't do it in this sport by yourself. It takes everybody. I can't be great without the greatness of others, period. Offense can't be great unless the defense is great. Defense can't be great unless the offense is great. I can't be great without the greatness of others. It always comes down to that, right? Sometimes you, sometimes me, always us. Sometimes you, sometimes me, always us. Together, team. It's always going to come down to detail. It's always going to come down. It's always going to come down to physicality, right, and toughness, and it's always going to come down to team. All right? That's what we've been building. All right, let's go take it to him tomorrow.
I don't know about you guys, but I just absolutely love what I saw and heard from Sirianni in those two clips. I thought the message about blocking out the criticism and the praise was great and super important, because, I mean, what other people are saying really doesn't matter at the end of the day. What matters is that the guys in the locker room stay focused and they work hard to get better every day, and that's how they're going to have success. And also, the message he had right before the game might have been even better, as like he said, nobody in this league can be great without the other guys around them, and if they want to be great as a team, no individual can do it alone. So again, I just love the messaging there, and I also love the passion that he's speaking with. I mean, you can tell that he cares, and this means a lot to him. And don't get me wrong, the Sirianni criticism has very much been warranted in the past, but I also do think he does deserve credit where credit is due, and the fact of the matter is that he did a great job getting the guys prepared these past couple weeks. His decision making has been better, and if you want to talk about his involvement with the offense, it's clear that they have made some big changes recently that I actually dove into in my video yesterday, and the offense has been much better these past couple weeks, and they're coming off an awesome 37-point performance against Cincinnati. So I think if we want to stay fair, while we obviously haven't forgotten all the reasons we've been criticizing him, I think we do have to give Sirianni some credit for the Eagles' recent success, and hopefully he and the rest of the team can continue on their upward trajectory. And this week, they're going to look to do that against a Jaguars team that hasn't been very good through the first 8 weeks of the season, as they are just 2-6 on the year, and there isn't much that they've been very good at. And for the Eagles offense specifically, they're going to have a really favorable matchup in this one, as the Jaguars defense is one of the worst units in the entire league. league. They're ranked towards the bottom in almost every category, and against the pass in particular, they are second to last in the NFL. So Jalen Hurts should be set up to follow his awesome performance against the Bengals with another impressive game. Now, Saquon Barkley, on the other hand, should theoretically have a little bit of a tougher time in this game because the one thing the Jaguars defense has been good at is defending the run, as they are ranked 9th in that category, but I don't think that means the Eagles should get away from the run game because that's really been one of the main reasons for the offensive explosion the past couple weeks, probably the main reason, honestly, and they also still have the guys up front to have success even with the injuries, and Saquon Barkley is also obviously a monster who can burn any defense, so I say the Eagles still need to commit to running the ball early and often, and if they stick with it, I think they'll have success, and it'll also make passing the ball even easier. And overall, I think it's clear that the Eagles offense should have success in this game. I just think the one big question they have left to answer is whether they can actually start fast on offense or not. But we'll talk more about this and what things could look like offensively as we get closer to the game. Now, as far as things go defensively for the Eagles, they should have a little bit of a tougher challenge as the Jaguars are a bit better offensively than defensively, as they're kind of around the league average in most categories, but this still is probably a favorable matchup for the Eagles defense with the way they've been playing recently, as ever since the bye week, they've probably been the best defense in the NFL. So I would expect that to continue this week against Trevor Lawrence and the Jags. And speaking of Trevor Lawrence, Eagles defensive coordinator Vic Fangio just talked about him, and he praised him ahead of the matchup.
Yeah, he's highly talented. He's got a big arm, really good scrambler. He's fast when he pulls it down and runs, can make every throw. I think he does a good job running their offense. You can feel that, it's his third year there now with that coaching staff, so there's familiarity. They do some audibling. He's got a good command of that. I just think he's a really good player, both from a talent standpoint and quarterback intangibles.
Fangio is certainly right that Trevor Lawrence has a lot of talent. The thing about Lawrence, though, is that I feel like his decision-making at times isn't always great, and I feel like he can also be inconsistent, so we'll see just how good he is this Sunday and what version of him that we get. Now, the bad news for the Eagles is that since a pretty terrible first 4 games for Lawrence, he's been a lot better these past 4 weeks, and the rest of the Jags offense has followed, so it definitely does look like they're capable of sneaking up on the Eagles and putting up a real fight in this game. Unfortunately for them, though, they did just lose their top 3 receivers last week in a game against the Packers, and Christian Kirk, Brian Thomas Jr., and Gabe Davis. Now, Kirk's not going to play, as his season just unfortunately came to an end after he broke his collarbone, but it looks like the other 2 could play, as Doug Peterson said Davis should be fine for the game this week, while he said that Brian Thomas was day-to-day. And if Thomas does play, he's going to be seeing a lot of the rookie cornerback Quinyon Mitchell, especially if Darius Slay is out with his groin injury. And there's no question in my mind that Q can get the better of this matchup. So don't worry, we're going to get into that and more in just a minute, but real quick, I do want to say, if you are enjoying this video and you don't want to miss any other Eagles coverage or content just like this coming throughout the rest of this entire season, then make sure you subscribe, and also really importantly, hit that notification bell so you know instantly when one of these videos is uploaded. Trust me, you guys are not going to want to miss any of the coverage I got coming on this channel throughout the rest of this season. I cover the Birds pretty much daily here, so if you guys want to stay up to date on all the latest news, again, make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. And also, while you're at it, if you want to show some support, make sure you drop a like. Let's see if we can get to 700 likes on this video. That really does help me out a ton. Now, with all that being said, let's get back into the video. So, as I was saying, Quinyon Mitchell's next matchup will likely be the Jags' impressive rookie Brian Thomas Jr., who actually has 573 receiving yards so far, which is good for 6th in the league, so that's definitely going to be a challenge, but Q certainly is not going to back down, and I still have all the confidence in the world that Mitchell's going to hold his own, as he apparently just held Jamar Chase, who is the league's leading receiver through 8 weeks, to 2 catches for 16 yards this past week, and he's been doing this all year to every good receiver that he's matched up against, as Mike Evans had just 2 catches for 19 yards on him, while Q had a pass breakup in the end zone. Also, Chris Olave had just 2 catches for 23 yards, Malik Neighbors had 1 catch for 9 yards, Drake London had 1 catch for 5 yards, and Amari Cooper had 1 catch for 10 yards. So, despite how good Thomas has been, I expect nothing less from Quinyon this week when matched up against him, because that's just how good he's been so far this season. And also, shout out to Eagles defensive backs coach and passing game coordinator Christian Parker, who has Quinyon and the rest of the secondary playing at a really high level recently. And on Tuesday, Vic Fangio made sure to give Parker his credit.
How important do you think Christian Parker is to the level that you're getting from the 2 rookies?
Very important. I think he does a good job with them. Does a good job in the meetings, spends the individual time with them in his office, which helps with a lot of guys. He's doing an excellent job with them for sure.
You definitely gotta love to hear Fangio giving Parker his props. And I gotta say, I think we all obviously know about Stalin University and the Eagles offensive line culture, but I think Parker University, it's starting to seem like a very real thing too, so drop a like down below for that. But now, I do actually want to get back to defensive coordinator Vic Fangio because he just had some really interesting comments. So with the NFL trade deadline approaching and now just under a week, there's been a lot of chatter and rumors that the Eagles could possibly look to make a move to acquire some help, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. And I personally myself have done some speculating on my own in recent videos, but for the most part, a lot of it just seems to be chatter and rumors. For example, like I mentioned in those videos that I made, a lot of the Myles Garrett stuff is just speculation and asking questions about whether the Eagles could possibly consider making that move, but in all likelihood, it's probably just not going to happen. However, last week, the Eagles did get one confirmed report from Sports Illustrated's Albert Breer, saying that the Eagles are a likely team that'll check in on the pass rusher market at the deadline. And a few names that have been mentioned and thrown around that make a little more sense than Myles Garrett or Max Crosby include guys like Za'Darius Smith, who has been really productive on a struggling Browns team this year, has 5 sacks in 7 games played, and I personally would really like that addition. Or a guy like Azeez Ajulari has also been mentioned, as he's been very good for the Giants defense while on a contract year, and he's a guy who I like too, and again, I think either one of those guys could be great additions to the Eagles defense and pass rush, and in my opinion, Howie Roseman should definitely have interest in trading for either one of them, along with a few other guys. However, if you ask defensive coordinator Vic Fangio, he doesn't seem to think that the Eagles need to make a move at all, as on Tuesday, he said this when asked about the trade deadline.
Vic, with the trade deadline coming up, is there any position that you're advocating for, or want to see a move at?
No.
So you feel good about the kind of state of the roster defensively then?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to improve your team drastically this time of year. I mean, I think if you look at some of those trades over the years, they really haven't had the effect that some teams were hoping for. Unless it's a trade that, where you're getting a guy that you're going to have for a few years, where it's more of a bigger trade than swapping guys, trading the 6th for a 7th, those type things.
Now, I honestly do think Fangio has a point. I mean, look at the Eagles trade last year for Kevin Byard as a perfect example of an exciting midseason trade just not working out. And also, with the way the defense has been playing recently, they probably don't need to add anybody if they can keep it up. That being said, though, honestly, Fangio's comments probably really don't matter that much in the grand scheme of things. Obviously, he's not going to come out and say, yeah, we need to go trade for somebody. And also, if Howie Roseman wants to make a move, he's going to make a move. And you can already bet that he's still going to do his due diligence, make some calls, and pounce if there is an opportunity that he thinks will improve the roster. And it sounds like Nick Sirianni understands that and is completely on board with it.
Yeah, I love the team that we have, and I think this team's really coming together. With that being said, I know we're always looking for ways to improve our team, and I know Howie's one of the best at that, of always looking at ways that he can improve the football team, and admire that and value that of how he goes to work there. And but like I said, love the guys that we have. I think we're coming together really nicely as a team, but we'll see how this next week plays out.
I'm definitely expecting the Eagles to at least be in the running to make some sort of significant trade at the deadline. Now, do I think they need to make a trade? Honestly, no, I don't at this point, just again with the way they've been playing recently. But again, like Nick said, Howie is always going to be on the lookout to improve the roster in any possible way. So we'll see what happens then if the Eagles do end up making a trade as we get closer to the deadline. But regardless of whether they do or not, you guys already know I'm still going to be covering all of it here on this channel, as well as just all the other Eagles news throughout this entire season. So again, if you don't want to miss any of that, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. And also, while you're at it, again, if you want to show some support and you did enjoy this video, make sure you drop a like. Let's see if we can get to 700 likes today. And also just leave a comment down below, because that also does really help me out a ton. And if you want to watch another video going over some stuff from earlier in the week, you can check this out right here. Now, with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.